All right, so today we're going to really get into it with this U.S.-Canada thing, all this stuff with Trump and Trudeau.
It's gotten pretty spicy.
Yeah, a lot of news articles out there, people going crazy on social media, everyone's talking about it.
Seems like everyone's wondering, will Canada become the 51st state?
Right. I mean, is that even possible? Like, what does that even mean for Canada and for Trudeau? I mean, is he going to become like a governor or something?
Well, it's a pretty interesting how Trump's using this, humor and all these public statements he's making as like a tactic,
Oh, yeah.
like to get leverage in these trade talks that are coming up. You could say it's kind of a power play, but
Sure.
it's a pretty unusual way of doing things, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the reactions. People are going nuts. Some are outraged. Some think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And some Canadians are even saying, like, bring it on. Let's become the 51st state. Which is crazy.
It is. So let's unpack this a little, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, where did this whole 51st state thing even come from?
Right. Like, where did it start?
Well, it seems like it started with Trump making these jokes about Canada joining the U.S.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Remember that dinner he had with Trudeau at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah.
There were some reports that he kind of suggested, like jokingly, that if Canada's economy tanked because of a trade war,
yeah,
they might as well just become a state.
Right, right. And then he, brought those jokes online, too.
He did. He shared that AI-generated image, remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Of him standing on top of a mountain like some kind of conqueror,
Oh, yeah.
with the Canadian flag waving next to him.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was clearly meant to be funny, but
yeah,
it also kind of keeps this idea of Canada joining the U.S.,
right,
front and center in the public's mind.
Yeah.
And it keeps people talking about it. It's a very deliberate move.
Right. It's like a big publicity stunt.
Exactly.
Or maybe he's just messing with Trudeau. I mean, who knows?
Who knows what he's really thinking? But he even brought it up again in that interview with NBC News.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
When he was talking about trade deficits with Canada and Mexico, he basically said, if we're the ones subsidizing them,
right,
they might as well just become part of the U.S. So he's definitely connecting those 51st state jokes with a real economic threat.
Yeah, he is.
Like that 25% tariff he's threatened to put on Canadian and Mexican goods.
Yeah.
It feels like a tactic to pressure Canada into giving him what he wants,
That's for sure.
During these trade talks,
Yeah. But is it actually working, though?
No.
Like, is Canada really that worried about all this?
I mean, it's definitely causing a lot of talk and speculation.
Right.
It's a distraction for sure.
Yeah.
And the reactions are all over the place. Some people are laughing, some are genuinely scared. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
To see how people are responding to all this.
Yeah, it's like the whole world's watching this play out.
Yeah.
And it's not just like regular people chiming in. Even some U.S. politicians are getting involved, right?
Yeah, they are. Didn't one senator have his own take on this whole 51st state thing?
I think so.
Yeah, Senator Josh Hawley,
Yeah.
Republican.
Yeah.
He jokingly suggested that we should split Canada into 2 states.
Well.
One Democrat and one Republican.
Wow.
So that it wouldn't mess up the balance of power in the Senate?
That's a pretty creative solution.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty out there. It seems like everyone's trying to find the funny side of this.
Yeah.
Even though it could get really tense.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's be real here. This whole tariff thing is a serious business.
Yeah, it is.
And to really understand what's going on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
I think we need to hear from someone who knows Trump really well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Someone who's seen how he operates firsthand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's where John Bolton comes in.
Right, John Bolton.
Trump's former national security advisor.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting perspective on all of this.
Yeah.
Even though he's become one of Trump's biggest critics now. He actually thinks that these jokes about the 51st state are more than just jokes. He thinks Trump's actually trying to humiliate Trudeau.
So it's not just about getting a laugh. It's a power move.
That's what Bolton thinks. He sees it as a way to undermine Trudeau, to get the upper hand in these trade talks, and just to show everyone who's boss,
Right.
It's not just about tariffs, it's about ego.
Yeah.
It's about showing everyone how powerful he is.
So what does Bolton think Trudeau should do?
Well,
Should Canada just ignore all this and focus on the trade negotiations?
his advice is kind of surprising. He actually thinks Trudeau should appeal to Trump's ego.
Wow.
Instead of trying to argue based on logic and, the history of U.S.-Canada relations, he thinks that's the best way to deal with Trump.
So basically play along with him.
In a way.
But wouldn't that be like giving in to a bully?
Yeah.
How can Canada stand up for itself while also stroking Trump's ego?
That's a good point. It's a tough situation.
Hmm.
But Bolton's argument is that, traditional diplomacy might not work with someone like Trump.
Right.
He also warns Trudeau against getting involved in U.S. politics, like commenting on the election, for example.
Yeah.
It's about choosing your battles.
Right. You don't want to give Trump any more reasons to attack.
Exactly.
So we're trying to figure out what's going on in the Trump's head, but we also need to consider what other important people are thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like, what about the Republican senators? What's their take on all this?
Well, Senator Kevin Cramer, he represents North Dakota,
Right.
which borders Canada.
Uh-huh.
He actually thinks Trump's totally serious about this tariff thing. He sees it as a real possibility.
So he's saying Canada should just do what Trump wants and avoid a trade war.
That's his advice.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Trump hasn't actually said what he wants Canada to change.
Oh, really?
When it comes to border security. So it's hard for Canada to know how to respond.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they're playing the game without knowing the rules.
Exactly.
Pretty messed up situation.
It is.
But not everyone's taking these 51st state comments seriously, right? Like, we need to consider what other people are saying and see what the general feeling is about all of this.
Yeah. What are people saying? Are they buying into the jokes, or are they actually worried?
Well, there's Matthew Bartlett.
Okay.
He's a Republican strategist who worked in the State Department during Trump's first term.
Okay.
He's got an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
He doesn't think we should take the 51st state comments literally.
So he's saying it's just Trump being Trump.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He thinks it's more about Trump wanting to be the center of attention and, keep everyone guessing.
Keep everyone on their toes.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, even he admits that it's hard to know what Trump's really thinking.
Yeah, it's like a high-stakes poker game.
Right. And what about the Canadian people? What are they saying?
It's a mixed bag. Some are offended by what Trump's saying,
They think it's disrespectful to Canada.
Yeah.
Others think that any U.S. president would pick on Trudeau.
Oh, really?
So it's not just about Trump, it's about the power dynamic between the two countries. Then, of course, there are those who are worried about what a trade war would do to the economy.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there are even a few who think becoming the 51st state might actually be a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, they think closer ties with the U.S. could be beneficial.
Wow, that's a lot of different opinions. It seems like this whole situation has really shown some cracks in Canadian society.
Yeah, it has. There's no clear consensus on how Canadians feel about the U.S.
Right.
About Trump.
Or even about Canada's place in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all this uncertainty is causing a lot of anxiety.
Yeah,
I bet, for Canadians and for everyone watching this unfold.
Yeah, definitely. But while we're talking about all the politics and the public reactions, we can't forget about the economic consequences.
Right.
This isn't just a war of words.
It's not.
It could really hurt people's lives.
Yeah, and John Bolton actually warns that Trump's obsession with tariffs could end up hurting Americans too.
Really?
Yeah, by making prices go up.
So it's a lose-lose situation for everyone.
That's what Bolton says. He thinks Trump doesn't understand how his actions could affect the economy.
So we've got political posturing, economic threats,
Yeah.
and a whole lot of uncertainty.
It's a complicated situation.
It really is. And it makes you wonder how Canada should respond to all this.
It does.
Yeah.
Should they play along with Trump?
Hmm.
Or should they stand up to him and risk making things worse?
Or is there some other option?
It's a tough call.
Yeah, they need to protect themselves without playing into Trump's game.
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. And we have to remember that this is just the beginning.
Right.
We've only seen a little bit of how this relationship is going to play out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure. It's kind of interesting, though, how different things are now.
Yeah.
Compared to how things were with other presidents,
Right. Like Trump's style is so different.
Totally. Way more aggressive, for sure.
Yeah. And unpredictable.
Totally. Like, he loves the drama, you know?
Yeah. It's like he's using this whole public spectacle thing as part of his diplomacy.
That's a good way to put it. It's not about being quiet and polite anymore. It's all about making a scene.
Right.
Grabbing headlines, keeping everyone guessing.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to use humor as a weapon either.
Yeah. Even if it means making fun of Canada.
Right.
Like one of our closest allies.
Yeah. I mean, those jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state.
Yeah.
They might seem harmless on the surface, right?
Yeah.
But knowing Trump
Right.
and how he's actually done some pretty crazy things he said he would do,
Yeah.
those jokes kind of make you wonder.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like he's planting a seed,
Yeah.
getting people to think about it, even if they don't take it seriously at first.
Exactly. And that changes the whole conversation.
Yeah.
It's not about traditional diplomacy anymore. It's all about public opinion.
It's like reality TV, but with international relations. Yeah, kinda. I mean, he's a master at manipulating the media.
Yeah,
Whether you love him or hate him, you're still talking about him.
that's true. And here we are analyzing every little thing he says.
Exactly. He's always in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what he wants.
But we can't forget about the consequences of what he's doing.
Right.
Especially with this tariff thing.
Yeah.
This isn't a game.
It's not.
A trade war would be bad for everyone.
For sure. Both economies would suffer.
Yeah.
And it could affect the whole global market.
It's a reminder that humor and power can be a dangerous combination.
Yeah.
Especially in international relations.
Yeah.
Canada has to be careful here.
They need to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Without making things worse.
It's a tough situation.
It is.
It'll be interesting to see how Trudeau responds.
Yeah.
Will he try to make Trump happy? Will he fight back? Or is there another way to handle this?
Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure.
What's that?
Things are going to be different between the U.S. and Canada from now on. No kidding. It's like we're in uncharted territory.
Totally. And it shows just how unpredictable the world is right now.
It really does. Speaking of unpredictable,
Yeah.
what about the Canadian people? How are they feeling about all this?
Well, there are a lot of different reactions,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Some Canadians are really worried about the economic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what if there's a trade war?
Right.
They're worried about prices going up, people losing their jobs,
Yeah.
and just the whole economy being unstable.
Yeah, because Canada's economy is so connected to the U.S. economy.
Exactly. It's not just a theoretical thing. It would affect their everyday lives.
Yeah, for sure. And for others, it's more about the political side of things.
Right.
They see what Trump's doing,
Yeah.
the jokes, the tariffs,
Yeah.
as an attack on Canada.
Yeah, like he doesn't respect them.
Right. And they worry about Canada losing its independence.
Exactly. It's not just about the money. It's about national identity
Yeah.
and Canada's role in the world.
And then you've got some people who are just laughing about it.
Oh, yeah.
Making memes and jokes online.
Totally. It's their way of dealing with how crazy everything is.
Typical Canadians, eh? Always finding the humor in things.
Right. Even when things are tough.
Yeah. But I bet underneath all the jokes, there's still a lot of uncertainty.
Definitely.
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's scary for people.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a natural reaction to a situation like this.
Yeah, people want answers. They want to feel safe.
Yeah.
But there are no easy answers here.
Nope.
It just shows how unpredictable the world is these days.
It does. Things can change so fast.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the big question.
What's that?
How should Canada handle all of this?
It's a tough one, but if I had to give some advice,
Yeah.
I'd say, first of all, stay informed.
Okay.
This is a constantly changing situation.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's happening and don't jump to conclusions.
Don't believe everything you hear.
Exactly. And second, Canada is not the only country dealing with this kind of stuff. The whole world is going through these changes.
Right.
Weird leaders, economic problems. It's a shared experience.
We're all in this together.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for countries to work together, to find common ground and solve these problems.
Before we move on to what might happen next, there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
This whole thing with using humor as a political tool.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen Trump do it,
Yeah.
but it seems like other politicians are doing it too.
It's a trend. It can be really effective,
Yeah.
Humor can make people relax and be more open to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Even if it's something controversial.
It's like a shield.
Yeah.
If someone criticizes him, he can just say he was joking.
Exactly. It's hard to hold him accountable.
Yeah, because he can always hide behind the humor.
Yeah. But those jokes can tell you a lot about what he really thinks.
Yeah, like they give you a glimpse into his mind,
Right.
even if he doesn't say it directly.
It's a subtle way to communicate, but it's powerful.
It is. And we're seeing it everywhere now.
Yeah, not just from Trump,
Yeah.
but from politicians all over the world.
So is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is it just a way to make politics more fun?
Yeah.
Or is it dangerous because it can be used to spread lies and manipulate people?
It's a fine line.
It is, especially with the internet and social media where
Yeah.
information spreads so quickly.
Let's be careful.
Yeah, we can't just accept everything we see and hear.
Right. We have to think critically
Exactly.
and be aware of people who might be using humor for bad reasons.
Well said. All right. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
So let's move on to what might happen in the future.
Yeah. What could the U.S.-Canada relationship look like down the road?
Let's explore some possibilities.
So let's try to predict the future here a little bit,
Yeah.
What are some possible outcomes for this whole U.S.-Canada thing?
Well, one possibility is that everyone calms down
Okay.
and realizes that a trade war would be a disaster.
Yeah.
So they find a way to compromise.
Yeah.
Maybe Canada gives Trump a little something on border security, you know?
Okay.
Just enough so he can claim a victory.
Right.
And then everyone can go back to normal.
Yeah, that would be the best case scenario, wouldn't it?
It would.
Everyone wins.
Exactly.
But is that really likely, though?
Yeah.
With Trump and everything going on?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We can't forget that Trump kind of likes conflict, you know? He likes to shake things up.
Yeah.
So another possibility is that he just keeps pushing.
Okay.
The tariffs actually happen.
Yeah.
And both countries suffer economically.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. I mean, prices would go up.
Yeah.
People would lose their jobs.
Right.
And the relationship between the two countries would be really strained.
But is there anything good that could come out of that?
Maybe.
Like any silver linings?
Well, it could force Canada to find new trading partners.
Oh, okay.
Like strengthen ties with Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
It would be tough at first.
Yeah.
But it could make Canada more independent in the long run.
So kind of a blessing in disguise.
Possibly.
Okay, let's get really crazy now.
Okay.
Like what's the wildest scenario you can imagine?
Okay, this is a long shot, but what if
Yeah.
all this talk about the 51st state
Yeah.
actually made Canadians want to join the U.S.?
Whoa.
Like public opinion shifts and there's a real debate about it?
wow.
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. That would be insane.
It would.
So realistically, though,
Yeah.
what do you think is most likely to happen?
Honestly, it's impossible to say for sure.
Yeah.
Trump is so unpredictable.
I know.
But I do think Canada has some power in this
Yeah.
situation.
Okay.
The U.S. needs Canada
Right.
for trade, for energy, for
Yeah.
security.
So it's not like Canada's completely helpless.
Right. And we've seen them stand up to Trump before. Yeah. Like when they renegotiated NAFTA.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to fight for what they believe in.
So you think Trudeau will be tough, but also diplomatic?
Yeah, I think so.
So basically, we're in for a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Lots of drama and uncertainty.
But Canada has been through tough times before.
That's true.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they're tough.
They are.
Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, here's something to think about.
Okay.
Beyond all the politics and the economics,
Yeah.
how is this going to affect how Canadians and Americans see each other?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Could this change the relationship between the two countries forever?
Wow.
It makes you think.
It does. It reminds us that this is about more than just money and trade.
Yeah.
It's about people and history and shared values.
Exactly.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into U.S.-Canada relations.
Yeah,
It's a complicated situation,
it is.
but we'll keep you updated as things develop.
We will.
Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.